Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Difficult Terrain. My name is Putty, and I'm joined as always by Marshall. Marshall, how you doing?
I am doing splendid, just
Excellent.
splendid. I've been getting into um the rhythm of a sort of dissertation lifestyle, and it is a lot of reading. And so far, it has been so relaxing. Like every day I'm like, what am I supposed to do today? Oh, that's right, I have to get some reading done, and that's my job. It's amazing. Whereas I had a lot less. I don't know. It feels very just self guided, which eventually I'm sure will crash into a wall, right? Like that'll be a problem eventually that it's self guided. But for now, I'm in the honeymoon stage of that process, where I get to relax and feel out the project and figure out what's going on. I've got months
Yeah.
before I start panicking. So
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're getting the reading done, then you're not falling behind, right? So you should be okay. Just set those short-term goals. What do you want to get done in a week? What do you want to get done in a month?
that is absolutely the crucible is setting short term goals, because people you have you know you have anywhere from, depending on how long it takes you, because really, like, some people can take as long as they want, and that's
Yeah.
the real problem. Like you have between like 3 to fucking, I don't know, the sky's the limit at American PhD programs, 3 to 5 years to do it. In Britain, my understanding is they're much more like, if you don't finish it in time, bro, like it's gone. At least at British PhD philosophy programs.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, they're like, you haven't finished yet. Okay, you really need to do it this year though, and they'll just like, they'll keep doing that, and it's often your advisors like, oh, he's not ready or she's not ready. He needs another year. But in my case, my goal is to finish on time, because like I just don't. That doesn't seem appealing to me, to just
No.
like languish for the better part of a decade on graduate studies, instead of actually going out and figuring out, I don't know, making some money, right? I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind doing that before I die. Um,
Overrated.
um, Overrated, except when you don't have any, it really does start
Yeah,
to get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
underrated.
Sure, sure.
I have money. It's not the end of the world, but what I guess I mean, like, I wouldn't mind having some decent savings, maybe some assets, a house, these sorts of things. Like and that's, all of those things are mostly out of reach when you're in grad school, or they're much harder to attain, right? But anyway, yeah. But all of that, I got distracted. Your point about short-term goals, absolutely. Like, because you have this big, just massive pile of time on your hand, and if you're like me, you've been working with, right, for the last, God, I don't know, 6, 7, I don't know how long. A decade of my life, whatever. I guess forever if you go back to to second, American high school or secondary school and then primary school. For as long as I can remember, I've been operating on these semester timetables where it's like, you've got this is what you're doing in this semester. And now I'm still in academia, but all of that semester timetable stuff is gone. It's disintegrated, basically. There's kind of some rough deadlines still, but like, they're very, very like loosey goosey. And so I think you're absolutely right that you need to impose some kind of structure on that, or else it will turn into just, unbridled hedonism. Um,
And you'll feel I feel like you'll feel yourself getting a lot more motivated if you can look back and have something. You know what I mean? If you've got something
Sure.
accomplished in the first whatever period, then
yeah,
you'll push yourself on to do another thing.
absolutely true. I also think it's funny because I know other people that do. You were doing a non. You were doing some non-science stuff, but I know some people that are in science, like graduate programs, and I'll tell them, "Oh, I'm doing research," and they're like, "What do you do? What do you mean by research?" Because they actually like go to a lab,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll use that term, and they're like, "What do you mean? Do you just mean like reading? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always what that means. I mean, you can. This is something cool that philosophers will do, like X-Fi. They'll go out and actually, they'll either go out or they'll do it on, the different programs that you can use to poll people. But like they'll run little experiments and try to design, often in collaboration with like actual, psychologists, sociologists, but they'll design some sort of experiment to test some question about usually what people believe or what people think about something, and then they'll write, oh well, this confirms my theory about so and so. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm doing great, Putty. How are you doing in this year of our Lord?
Not too bad. You might see in the background there, spread out on my playmat, is a few Yu-Gi-Oh cards because there was a deck that I noticed get quite cheap this week, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna buy the deck." So I've started putting it. Yeah, well, it's a going second deck that revolves around destroying your opponent's stuff and then just killing them on the second turn. So
second turn.
Oh yeah, which is late for Yu-Gi-Oh. That's quite, that's quite a long game if it gets all the way to the second turn. But so half the deck is stuff that I already owned because it's stuff like you will remember Raigeki, right? Destroy all your opponent's monsters, Harpy's Feather Duster, those kind of board breaker cards. So the engine is about 15 cards. So I picked that up and I'm gonna build that. Probably for next weekend. And there's a big Yu-Gi-Oh tournament going on right now, actually, in Lille. The first European YCS since last December, which is big for us.
I gotta know, like, what is... I don't mean this as a trick question.
Sure.
What do you find fun about the speed of modern Yu-Gi-Oh? I find it blinding in like... to the point where I actually don't understand what would get me back into the game. I find the interaction to be really interesting. I find the interaction to be really cool. I also think the skill ceiling is... interaction between different cards?
No, between you and your opponent.
Oh, okay. Just hanging out with...
No, I mean like the game, the mechanics. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the most interactive card game.
Oh,
right
okay.
Now.
So you do mean the mechanic, but you mean between... you and
your opponent. Yeah. I think that there's nowhere near as much back and forth in any other card game as there is in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, where the game revolves essentially around about 8 or 9 instances of you activating an effect and your opponent having something to respond to that, and then going back and forth. And how do you order those, and how do you layer those, and which ones do you use early and which ones do you use late? What reads do you have? Things like that. The skill ceiling in Yu-Gi-Oh is massive. It's huge. When you start to learn a new deck, like the problem I have with modern Yu-Gi-Oh is it changes too much because we have ban lists every like 3 to 4 months. So, but it takes about 3 to 4 months to learn a deck, like to even be anywhere near like having proficiency with a deck.
By the time you learn that, you find out half of your cards are on a ban list.
Like literally, I just bought this deck. Hold on, let me grab a card real quick. This deck's been out for about 6 months, right? And before I even bought the deck, this card got limited to 1 copy, so I can only play 1 copy of it in the deck now. But
brutal.
Yeah, but I understand. Like Yu-Gi-Oh players wouldn't have it any other way. Like most people get really annoyed when there hasn't been a ban list in a while, right? Most people want there to be frequent ban lists, but it's a very expensive game. Like there's a card that's coming out in about a week's time that you essentially need to play 3 copies of in every single deck. It's that powerful. And it's pre-ordering right now for about $150 to $200 each. So, currently it is exorbitantly expensive to play this game.
Wait, sorry. Pre-ordering from who? From Yu-Gi-Oh? From the maker of the game?
No, so this is a common thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think actually a common thing in all card games now. You pre-order from like stores and shops and things.
A game shop.
Yeah.
And the game shop has... I mean,
they will open en masse. Well, usually what happens is pre-order price is a certain amount, and then it will go down slightly immediately upon release. But usually what happens is not long after release, it's above pre-order price because the supply and demand has an impact on it.
Jesus Christ. Do you really, I mean, so to be competitive in the game, you have to be willing to spend a decent amount of money on it. Like you yeah, probably.
Wow. I think,
although how
it very much
different is
ebbs
that?
and flows.
I'm sure that's not that different from Magic. Like, I'm sure
Well, I don't know a ton about Magic, but there's been news about it recently because it's caused shockwaves enough that I've picked up on what's happened. Because you know of the Commander format. It's very popular. You probably have heard of it.
It's the only format I have heard of because it's the one everyone seems to play.
Yeah. Well, their ban lists aren't done by Wizards. They're done by because it's a fan-run format, basically. And about a week or so ago...
I'm sure Wizards loves that the most popular thing about their game is completely...
It's a fan-made format. Right, yeah. Well, they've started printing cards specifically for that format now, which is part of the controversy that's happened this week, because a bunch of cards got banned in that format, and a lot of them were like upwards of $100 each for those cards this week until they got banned. And then apparently they just dropped off a cliff, because there was a couple of those cards that got banned this week that were the cards that Wizards specifically printed for Commander. So now that they're banned in Commander, they're not legal in any format. Because they were only legal in Commander, because they were Commander cards. They were cards, like, there was one that gave you 3 mana, but you could only use that mana to cast your Commander, right? So it'd be completely useless in any other format.
That's brutal.
Yeah. And that was one of the, like, really expensive cards.
And, well, that's interesting, because, so this is a case where Wizards doesn't have the control of what's on that ban list, right? Because this is a fan made. Who does though? Is there like just a guy?
There's a committee. There's like a command, because the formats existed long before Wizards started supporting it. So I think the committee did too.
Wow. So the committee was like, "Wow, they just released this card. Oh, it's broken. Okay, we're banning it immediately."
Well, it wasn't. This is one part of the problem. They waited a long time. So part of the criticism of these bans is that they didn't do it soon, so a lot of people bought them and thought they were safe to buy them, and then they got banned, and now they're useless. They're like, because you can't play them in any format because it's only Commander.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's brutal. That definitely, that's a lot to keep up with.
But back to them, because so your point was, what do I enjoy about Yu-Gi-Oh? I think the interaction's really cool. I really enjoy the skill ceiling being as high as it is. Like, I really enjoy the idea that when I'm playing, for most part, there's so much more I could be doing to win this game. A lot of it's in my control. I also think
you're always thinking, it's my fault I'm losing.
Yeah, which is good. That's the right. Yeah. You don't always think that, but afterwards, if you reflect, you're like, yeah, it was my fault. And not to say there isn't, of course, variance in the game. There is, but there's a lot that's in your control. I think they've also done a really good job of making unique mechanics, and it's hard to explain this without playing the game. But there are decks that you play, and you're like, man, this just feels completely different to anything else. You know what I mean? Like you're almost playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is almost like 8 or 9 different games at a single time, because each deck sometimes plays just completely differently. Like, you're doing completely different things. Like, some cards are putting one on, Xyz monsters, right? You're overlaying some monsters. Sometimes you're sending them to the graveyard. Some decks you don't even need the graveyard. The deck I'm building over there has a card that means that you can't use the graveyard anymore. So there's a bunch of shit that you can do. And yeah, I think.
What does it even mean to not be able to use a graveyard?
It's not that ridiculous. So there's a hand trap now where you can only use it if you have no cards in your graveyard. You use it, and for the next 2 turns, any card that's sent to either graveyard is banished instead.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably makes more sense to you. That card's really, really dumb when you're not playing that deck, but when you are playing that deck, it's really fun. And the other thing is always, and it's always the case, and I think this is probably true of Magic too, and definitely of Pokemon, but I've always felt this is more prevalent in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the culture of just traveling to all these events. That's the most fun thing always, is just this, like, every event is almost like a convention. Like, and it gives you an excuse, especially in Europe, when we used to have a lot more events, but apparently the European events are just not profitable. So they've just kind of stopped doing them, which really sucks. But we've got 2 at the end of the year. I'm really thinking about going to Italy for the second one, but I don't know. We'll see.
Brutal.
Yeah.
These are like tournaments.
Yeah, they call them YCS, so it's like the biggest. It's the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh events that you don't need an invitation for. So they're like they're the premier events that anyone can enter. So they're the biggest events in the circuit.
And then, how good are you? Are you top grade, mid grade?
I haven't I haven't played properly in paper since about 2019. In 2019, I got to day 2 of YCS London, so I was okay. In the online client, I'm like in the top rank, I guess.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
But of course, in that you can have whatever cards you want, right?
Well, kind of. Yeah, it's like a currency system. You know,
okay,
so
okay.
It's cheaper than playing in paper, definitely.
That makes sense. But then you don't have the nice cards, and
well, there are rarities in that game, so you can.
Well, could you resell them? Could
No.
you? Yeah. So like
you can disenchant them. You can dust them.
Obviously, the resale value of trading cards is somewhat variable, but at the very least, if
it largely goes down in Yu-Gi-Oh, unless it's like
really? It never goes up.
I mean, competitive cards. It doesn't. Not that it never goes up, but competitive cards are almost always depreciating assets.
Oh wow.
Collectibles are different.
How do you know if will a competitive card ever become a collectible just randomly?
Very rarely. They have done this thing over the last few years where they've printed competitive cards in different rarities, and so one will be like a premier rarity, and that's always going to be a collectible because there's like very, very few of them in any particular set. But largely no. Yeah, because the reason why competitive cards generally go down in price is because they are frequently reprinted for good reason. Is that, you know, when this card that's coming out in a week's time is going to be $150, $200 a copy, you know, that's going to get reprinted at the latest next August when they do the yearly megatins. Like, surely it's going to be in that product. Probably going to get a reprint before then as well, because it's such a good card.
There you go. That makes sense. I feel that I have learned so much about the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! When I just used to play it when I was a kid, and God, 2 turns would be an extremely fast game. I remember once I played against my friend's dad, and he beat me in like 4 turns, and I remember thinking that he was some sort of god from outer space. Like, I literally was like, you are so fucking good at this game.
Well, I think we've talked about this before, but there are officially supported old formats in Yu-Gi-Oh, like Edison.
Where like everything past a certain date is banned.
They play basically with the ban list and the releases of, you know, a specific event. So for Edison, it's the SJC Edison. And I think I told you this before, but I'm building some Edison decks right now. So I recently got this card that I didn't have last time we talked, which you may remember, or maybe not.
Wait, what does it say? I can't.
Caius the Shadow Monarch.
Oh yeah. I remember that one. Oh, I never had that one. That's cool.
I was shocked. So this card is it's a 6-star monster, so it's 1 tribute, and when it's tribute summoned, you can target 1 card on the field and just banish it. And then if it's a dark monster, you inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. Wow.
And so the point of this deck is that, I don't know if you remember this card, Treeborn Frog. Basically, this card in your standby phase comes back from the graveyard every turn. So the idea is you just get this back every turn and use it to tribute summon monarchs and stuff, and that's the point of the deck.
I think my favorite thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the fucking art.
What's really cool about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that the art is just like everywhere. There's no cohesion to it, and I love it.
That is what I liked about it. It felt like some bizarre chaos dimension that these things were coming out of, because I agree, like you'd have cards that look like they're from some weird steampunky thing,
like ancient gears.
And then very classically fantasy cards, you'd have cards that look like they're from some like beat cop were
or like a mecha anime, right? There's so many different. They did one of the first TCG exclusive archetypes was Cosmo, which is a mix between Wizard of Oz and Star Wars. That's which is just amazing. And yeah, what I will say to Magic's credit on this, because I don't know a lot about Magic, but they're doing a lot of like licensing in Magic now, where they take other franchises and they
have the Lord of the Rings.
They have Fallout cards, right? They have Fallout cards. There's a Fallout Commander deck and stuff, like they did D&D. They've got a Wizards of the Coast set and stuff like that. There's a card called Demi-Lich that is just a Demi-Lich, which is really cool. So they also have a really varied art style, but I agree. I think Yu-Gi-Oh was always like, and there's a weird cohesion to it where like none of it makes any sense together, but it still feels like it's in the same card game to me anyway. But,
for sure. No, well, because the art, what is depicted in the art is always crazy, but the art style often has some grounding, even if the subject matter is completely different. The cards that stuck with me, I can't think, I say they stuck with me, just sort of the idea of these cards. I can't remember like an example of one, but they'd have art that was just so profoundly bizarre, so unique to Yu-Gi-Oh! Like weird glob monsters with two eyes and like these, I don't know, just art that was like, I don't even know what this is from. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's some nightmare from the mind of Japan. Like that's the only thing I can understand it to be, is like, this is not a thing that I am even, that it's so bizarre that I'm like, I don't even know how to ground it in my own kind of understanding of the world. But those cards were always so cool. They were always so weird. Anyway, yeah. No, I definitely think they're the kind of cards that you could, for example, like show to a like 5-year-old and blow his fucking mind, right? It'd be like, what the hell is that? Like,
for sure.
I always like that about it. All right. So speaking of learning about cards, you could say that there might be some Yu-Gi-Oh! Being played at the Board Weasel tonight.
Sure.
Or is it more of a Magic Town? Or do they maybe they like Pokemon here?
I think they've moved on to One Piece now. That's the
what? Fuck. Do people play One Piece?
Yeah, there's another one too. What's Lorcana? That's the two new popular new card games are One Piece and Lorcana, I think.
Oh, I know well of Lorcana because I know
nothing about it.
Well, I don't know much about the game itself, but I know of it because I went to the Gen Con where it premiered.
Oh.
And it was a fucking circus. Like, so people waited in line. So there's at Gen. This is the last thing before we get into the game. At Gen Con, there's this massive hall where they sell all of the good, where vendors will come, the vendor hall, but they call it like the expo hall. And it's this huge part of this convention center where you just walk around and there's hundreds and hundreds of vendors that sell any kind of, I mean, like, for example, Paizo or different companies will come and just sell their product directly to people. But also game stores will come, artists will come. You know, I mean, if you've been to any kind of like nerdy convention, it's like that, but on steroids. It's, you know, this massive series of, it's like a grand nerd market. Okay, so normally people will wait in a line just for that. But for Lorcana, it was so intense that people were waiting in a separate, outside the actual hall where this is even happening, line just to get to the Lorcana booth. And, like, it was also, they ran it like a shit show because people started waiting up in this line and they're like, this is the Lorcana line. And this was kind of like self-organized by the fans. But then, the fucking people that ran this event, they were like, all right, we opened the door. You can go. And there was absolutely no attempt to respect the line that had formed. And so then it was fucking chaos.
Oh
and
my God.
And apparently there was this story of this guy who posted a blog. He had waited in line for hours and he was the second person in line. And he was not able to get Lorcana that day because of how badly they implemented this, like, all of this stuff, right? And they just I guess they had no fucking clue that it was going to be this big of a deal. But people were already saying that this was going, I mean, honestly, it's surprising people are actually playing it, because what I heard was that it was just like one of the most massively profitable new collectible schemes that you
Oh,
buy as many of these cards as possible and then sell them at a massive profit, right? And so a lot of these people, I don't
scalping,
even know if they, yeah, I think
basically.
they were scalpers. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was chaos. Like you'd walk through the convention hall and you'd see that booth, and there was just a line that ran endlessly. And you'd see, and these people, they looked miserable. I don't know why they were there.
See, you wouldn't get that problem with Yu-Gi-Oh because the line would be a lot smaller.
Yeah, no shit. Oh, you could get Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I'm sure, in an instant. You know, no, it was.
They're paying you to take their Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah, they're like, sir. No, I've literally been handed free trading cards at Gen Con for like obscure games that people are trying to get you to play. They're like, please,
yeah.
play our fucking, I don't know, our Bakugan trading card game.
Oh yeah, I saw the Bakugan trading card game.
Yeah,
that one hasn't seemed to take off.
Yeah, but there'll be different trading card games that people will be like, no, or some anime I've not heard of.
I haven't seen this, but apparently my new local game store does a Beyblade night. Like, and I don't know if it's Beyblade or if there's some sort of Beyblade card game. Or I don't know.
You should go.
I should check it out. Yeah, let it rip. I mean,
if they have actual goddamn Beyblades, I would get back into. Beyblade? Man, Beyblade was the shit.
That was the shit, yeah.
That was awesome.
Speaking of finding hidden treasures in unusual locations, what are we doing here today?
That's a much better transition than mine. We are here in the fair vale of fuck, what's it? Let me look at. Don't tell me. Blasingdale. Fuck.
Yep. There is actually wait, can you not see in the bottom left the title? Have I messed up the reveal again?
It's the bottom left or bottom right?
Bottom left.
Yeah, it's in darkness.
What the hell, man? Okay, I'll try revealing it
in
again.
darkness.
It's damn roll 20, ruining my fun. It should be there now.
There you go. It might be that if you do the reveal, did you do the reveal when I wasn't on the page? Because it might be that
yeah.
It might not do it for me then in that case.
Yeah.
It like tricks you into thinking it's revealed, but it's not.
It's not.
What a beautiful text. Great font.
Thank you.
Great font. What's that font called?
I can look it up for you after the session. Remind me.
I don't actually need to know. I just
okay.
I thought it'd be interesting if you knew. Off the top of your head. It actually, maybe I'll keep in mind. It is a nice font. But I like the way the E comes out like a little dagger. The middle line on the E. We are here in Blasingdale, which is apparently the largest settlement for miles in any direction.
For sure.
And it doesn't even seem close. And we have met a couple people. We've met the let's see here. We have met okay. We've met Grendar, the sergeant, who sort of is the main lawman in town. We've met his constable Dara, who's the sharp mind. I'm guessing she's the one that actually does a lot of the work. And maybe, well, at least my guess is that Grendar is here to kind of resolve disputes. He's the sociable kind, whereas Dara is the one that they send in if there's been an actual murder or a crime. Right? That's my guess as to their sort of what their strengths are. Lucas is a barkeep at the Board Weasel, and the Board Weasel is where Admand spent some of his time drinking. To his delight, the dwarven ale was only mediocre.
Wow, can you even call it dwarven ale, though? That's the real question.
The Board Weasel Ale, or whatever, I forget, we were told the name of the brewer. Dell Brewery. The Dell Brewer's Ale was well, I guess actually if we remove the dwarven tag, all of a sudden now it's good ale. That's what's nice, right? It's for human ale, it's pretty good. For dwarven ale, it's mediocre. So remove that tag, right? And then all of a sudden, it now looks better. But in any case, it's a lot better than he feared it was going to be, because we found a barrel of some awful vinegar shit in the middle of the woods. And we got to the place, and like you told me, this tastes to you like someone trying to make dwarven ale but failing. And I get to the town, they're like, "Oh, we have a dwarven ale. It's real." So it turns out that might be my guess is that there's some bootlegger in town making like bootleg beer or something. Very strange.
Damn. And there's 2 brewers in town, so there is that.
Yeah, there's 2 brewers. Oh, perhaps the mead brewer is trying to steal and figure out a formula for the ale. But why wouldn't they just do that in their climate controlled facility? I don't know. I don't know if it's climate controlled, but like they already have a facility. I mean, it's, I don't know. I'm not in the mead business. I don't know. Maybe the bees.
Not your problem, Yeah.
No, not my circus, not my monkeys. It's an expression I've heard recently that I really like. But yeah, it is. So that's going on there. And then we haven't met him yet, but we've heard of one Sir Miles Barrick, who we might be talking to today. He's the mayor of Blassingdell. And we also met a dwarf named Bardak. And he's from Citadel Adbar. He got me all sad. And he's an alchemist who studies flora and fauna. And then we heard about Casper at the meadery. So we heard about a bunch of people. We met a few of them. Admand's goal today here in Blassingdell is to find out what is going on with Kundrakar. We brought up the word. We brought up the name. People got weird. People got tense. People clutched their pearls. By people, I really just mean so far the bartender. I haven't talked to anyone else about it. But the bartender got weird. Whereas, at the very least, the constable seemed to have a little more of a reasonable reaction, if not discouraging. She was like, that's a fucking myth, leave. So we're going to start with her, and I think move up the chain of command. I think we're going to start with her. If that fails to provide interesting information, we're going to go to the sheriff, or the sergeant, I mean. If that fails, we're going to go to the mayor. If that fails, we're going to go back down the chain of command to a farmhouse outside.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to be doing today's session.
All right, sounds good. So you want to start with the constable? She told you where her office is. You can see it on the map.
Oh yeah. Actually, I poked my head in there to ask for directions to the board weasel.
That's right, you did. Yeah, I remember now.
I got lost in the shadows.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, you can head over to the constable's office and walk right in, and she's there at her desk at the front. There's a jail cell in the room.
Is this after a night's rest? Because we stayed there. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Jail cell.
There's a guy in there. Looks like he's in his teens. Male human.
Oh. I walk in and I imagine they have quite a bit of light indoors, like torches or lanterns or something.
Candles.
Is she sitting at a desk or
yep.
Is she?
So it's a big room. She's got her heavy-set desk, a chair, 2 chairs in front of it, and then on the other corner of the room, about a third of it is graded off by a cell. What do you call just one side of a cell?
Like one side of a cell?
Yeah, like it's not a full cell. It's just one. It's like a cell wall, I guess. It's like a metal bars. There's metal bars blocking off one side of the room. Yeah.
Yeah. So, cell door. Cell bars.
Bars. Yep.
Jail bars. Jail. Anyway, so we clearly do not work in the
correctional
in industry. Sort of, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think I would thrive in such a place. Admand walks up to Grendar and says,
Dara, I assume.
Oh, wait, fuck. It's Dara. Shit. I say, hello, Grendar. Wait, oh. No. Hello, Constable Dara. Good morning.
Good morning. Is there anything I can do for you?
Yes. May I sit down?
Of course.
Okay, I sit down. I say, you might not like what I have come here to ask you.
Okay. That's a frequent occurrence.
Oh, I suppose in your business, yes, that makes sense. Points over his shoulder. Town drunk?
One of the mercenary boys. Got a little bit rowdy last night.
I point back at him and I go, and then I go, turn back to her. I say, you already know why my company and I are here. While I was at the Board Weasel, I mentioned my quest to the bartender there, Lucas, and his reaction gave me the impression that it would not be wise for me to stumble into random buildings and ask people about Kundrakar. But you at least seemed willing to talk about it, and I thought you would be a good person to start my inquests with.
Roll me an insight check to start this conversation off, just so I have an idea of how well you're reading Dara during this.
Let's see how we do. Insight. Oh, I love this music. Which one's this one from again? This is from Pokemon.
Pokemon, yeah.
Nice. So good.
Although this is a cover, it's not directly from the game.
Son of a bitch!
She says, she sits back. Remind me again, what was the last sentence you said? Because I kind of forgot.
Basically, the gist was, like, I don't want to cause trouble. I said I wasn't going to. And it seems like for the average citizen here, that's going to cause trouble. Like, I didn't say that, but that's kind of what my meaning was. But I thought you seemed willing to talk about Kundrakar, and I thought I could at least start by talking to you about it.
Okay. She sits back. She definitely seems really uncomfortable with the line of conversation.
Seeing her expression, I said, I told you wouldn't like it.
She gives you a faint smile. And she says, look, there are loads of dwarves living out in those hills. I'm sure they've got these massive fortresses here and there. I'm sure there are cities or towns or whatever you call them. Not to be offensive. But there are also other things living out in those hills. Much more dangerous things. I'd be careful where you go poking your nose.
Why was Lucas, and this is not the first time I've heard that people in this town might be cagey about this subject, why didn't Lucas want to talk about it? What happened? Some tragedy I don't know about? I've gone very folksy with my Admand voice while we're in this town.
It's the music.
It's the music.
She says, there's only so much that I'm willing to talk about. But let's just say nothing good has ever come of talking about that place here.
You said earlier that you believe it to be a myth. Is that true, or were you just trying to walk me off?
I think you're more likely to run into orcs out in those hills than you are to find whatever it is that you're looking for.
Unfortunately, I was prepared to find orcs as well. Do you get many orcs here in town? Orc raiders, I mean. Do they attack town?
They don't.
I mean, nice sort.
No, they don't come this far anymore. They did. Probably has been about 5 years since we've had anything to really worry about.
But you think just up in that mountain there are going to be orcs?
Yeah, I'd guess so. We do get traders from the east every now and then. It's rare, but it happens.
Traders, really? Orc traders or humans?
Or mixture of both, but usually orcs, half orcs.
Where are they coming?
Sometimes
from?
dwarves. There's a little. I don't know how little it is, but a lot of them seem to come from this place called Egel Ka. I don't know much about it, but a couple traders come from that way.
Does it sound like a town or a dwarf hold?
Well, it's mostly orcs coming from that way.
Mostly orcs. Okay.
Mm-hmm. We have had some traders coming from the far east. Guys claiming to be coming from places like Hartusk Keep. But again, that one's rarer.
Do I know Hartusk Keep to be a orc dwarven settlement? What kind of?
You can roll me a history check.
Okay. History?
You've never heard of Hartusk Keep.
Wow, Hartusk Keep. I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Oh. It's it's where that war chief Hartusk set up in Sundabar after the war.
Ah. Well, wait, did he set up at Hartusk Keep or at Sundabar?
Hartusk Keep is what they call Sundabar now.
I literally vomit. No. I see. And Admand gets really dark. Not dark, but his expression darkens. He seems bummed out by that.
A reminder that Sundabar is not a dwarf hold. It's a human...
it wasn't?
Well, roll me a history check.
Oh, God. Damn it.
Not dwarf hold in living memory. Okay, you know that back in the old Delzoon Empire, which was this massive dwarven empire that basically covered all of the north, at least. North, yeah. So those holds, Mithril Hall, Citadel Atbar, Citadel Felbar, they were all a part of the Delzoon Empire.
Mirabar?
No, not Mirabar.
Okay.
Mirabar is sort of like... Mirabar was named sort of in reference to those cities. It was founded later. Gauntled Grim, though, which I think we've talked about before, that was probably the hold you were looking for before this project. The mythical, legendary Gauntled Grim. That was the capital of the Delzoon Empire. There was also Citadel Sundbar. And then after the Delzoon Empire fell, a human city was built on top of it. And it's sort of like Mirabar, where there's a dwarven-human synthesis. But that one, I think... Sundabar is a lot more sort of dwarven influence, very industrial city. But it was a human city on top of a former dwarf hold.
That makes sense.
So it's different than Mirabar in the sense that Mirabar is a human city on top of an undercity. Mirabar itself isn't really what people would consider a dwarf hold. It's just sort of like an undercity where dwarves live. It doesn't have the structures of a dwarf hold. It's not like it could be a fortress or a living space all on its own. It's just kind of a part of Mirabar, whereas Sundabar was like dwarf hold, then city. And then slowly, probably the dwarf hold became a lot more of what Mirabar looks like now, but there are still probably parts of it that are more like, well, we could close the doors and defend this place and live here for years and years and years, and we have ways of growing food down here and things like that.
But all that's over.
Well, the surface has fallen. Who knows what's going on underneath?
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck, that's exciting. Let's get out there. All right. Break the siege. Okay. Interesting. But it's humans. I don't give a fuck about them.
Well, there are a lot of dwarves there, but it's not.
Oh, I'm back on. Admand's completely motivated by racial sort of profile. Admand,
do you want a job on the force? Star says.
You will do well here. He says, I see. All right. I'll ask you the same question I asked Lucas. Next. I'm not going to push you if you don't want to say more. Do you think it would be a problem if I asked a similar question to Grendar or the mayor?
I mean, you can ask Grendor whatever you like. I don't think that's a man easily offended. The mayor...
Fuck you, man. I just walk in.
The mayor is a little more sensitive to that topic. And a little more sensitive in general. But I won't stop you. There's nothing wrong with that. I would ask that you, as you have fairly surmised and already offered discretion in, that you stay away from asking random people about this. That will cause distress. But if you wish to ask the mayor, that is your decision. But he is quite sensitive to the topic.
A sensitive man. Good to know. I will respect your wishes here, and I thank you for your candidness. Candidacy? Wait, what is the word? Candidness?
Candidity?
Candidity? Candosity?
Ooh.
Candericity! It just keeps getting weirder.
Candidness, I think, is...
Candidness. Okay.
Is what,
well, I
Google is
really
telling me.
like canderosity, though. Okay. There needs to be more fun words. We don't have enough fun words. I am gonna leave the constable's office and... Oh, wait. Fuck. I go back in. Where's Grendar?
He's patrolling around. His office is down in the barracks to the south, but he's usually patrolling around town. The best place to get a good look at him is the market.
All right, I'll head there. And that's east of here? Past the town hall?
Yeah.
Butcher, come get your meats.
That is what that building is. You can see a bunch of stalls set out here. I think, yeah, they're all empty at the moment, but you can see that there are a bunch of stalls here.
Ooh, a merchant guild hall. All right. So it's too early for people to be, or they only have certain market days, maybe?
Yeah, that's probably what you think it is. Or there may be some that are open all day, but it might be too early for some people to... Sorry, every day, but they're too early. Nobody's there yet.
Ooh, a cook shop.
Yeah, you see this building has a little window with a little, foldable window in it, and it's open onto a active kitchen, and there's a little halfling out front manning the counter.
Would
Halfling
you be
woman.
Paprika?
That's right.
You serve food here?
Serve food, or we can cook up your ingredients if you got them.
Oh, that's fun. Well...
Otherwise, we got bread, we got stews, got vegetables and salads.
I will...
Some porridge.
What do you recommend as a nice breakfast?
How about some bread with some fried eggs?
That sounds lovely. How much would that be?
5 copper.
All right, here you go.
Cool. Yeah, she cooks it up. There's a few small wooden seats outside that you can sit on while you wait or while you eat.
Paprika, why don't you tell me about Kunta Ka? No, I don't. Falls into the soup. Yeah. I'll sit there and say.
So what brings you here, stranger?
Fuck. Wait. Didn't say. We're traveling, adventuring folk, looking for work on the frontier.
Well, this is a great place to find work. Casper's always looking for people from out of town.
Oh yeah, we heard about Casper. Yes, we'll have to pay Casper a visit. We're just getting our bearings. We got here last night.
And then she puts it out on a little wooden plate for you and hands it to you.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's simple, but it's homemade, fresh,
Salted, salt and pepper.
If you ask for it, she can put some salt on the egg.
Yeah, I was like, I would never have an egg without salt and pepper.
No pepper here, though. Unfortunately, it would just be the salt.
Where's your paprika?
My what?
Dara's like, it cuts to me back at Dara's office, and Dara's like, all right, I guess I didn't specifically ask you not to scream at a woman about whether she had paprika, but I thought that would be implied. I thought it was really out of hand when you reached over the table and grabbed her by the collar of her shirt and started screaming, "Where's the paprika? You're a liar!" He eats the egg and bread. And he says, he's like half eating. He's like, "How long have you been here, Paprika?"
All my life.
Oh wow, okay. How long ago was the darkness? It was like a decade or more.
Not quite. The darkness started 7 to 8 years ago, and then the war ended about 5 or 6 years ago.
So you were here when the darkness started, then?
Sure was.
That's been hard, I imagine.
Yeah, it was hard to get used to at first, and the years that followed it coming were scary. There was always something nearby, something going on. But we've gotten used to it, and now that the war is over, we don't get so much trouble anymore, and suppose you just live life. A lot more mercenary types around town now than there were beforehand. Obviously, still not the... I still would prefer it if we had days like we used to, but other than that, life has mostly remained the same. Suppose there's been a bit more business here ever since.
Wow. There's been more business.
Well, I suppose we're the only stop now if you're heading east, and I know most people don't, but some do.
Some do. And you're have you ever considered moving out west where the sun shines?
Sure, I've thought about it, but I've got good roots here. Make a living. Quite quiet. I hear the cities are quite busy.
They've got pepper in the cities. Something to consider. Yes. Have you seriously, you haven't heard of paprika? That's literally your name.
Oh yeah, I guess, I don't know.
It's a kind of seasoning. You should try to get your hands on some. It'd be great for brand sort of, I don't know, just branding.
That does make sense. I just always thought it was my name.
So what it is, I found this out in real life recently. It blew my mind. I don't know if you ever use paprika in real life, Putty, but it's just dried red peppers, red bell peppers. They're dried out and then they're ground into a powder, and that's people use it to season their food. So I'll tell her that, and I'll say if you ever get your hands on some, you should try it. It's delicious.
When the merchants come by next, I will ask.
You should. All right. Well, I sort of finish up my food, and I say, thank you so much for the food. I'll be sure to stop by if I get hungry.
Cool.
And I leave. Yum.
At this point, you do see Grendar wandering around the market.
Muttering darkly to myself about the lack of seasoning in this town. This godforsaken vale.
He tips his hat at you and says, "Howdy, Admand, how are you finding it?"
Ah, Grendar. I am finding it quite well. In fact, I came to find you. But I just had a delicious breakfast at Paprika's cook shop. Egg on bread. Although, no black pepper. Thought that was interesting. And no paprika. Very strange. I told her to get some. Anyway. But how do I say this? Are there people around?
No, it's quiet. He's got a lantern as well. I assume, are you traveling around with any light?
That is a great question.
There are lights outside of the houses, so it's not depicted on this map, but there are like tiki torches and hanging lanterns and things like that.
I think Admand's probably making the best use out of his dark vision, and the reason I say that is we only bought 2 lanterns, and the rest of the group, if they want to go anywhere, they would, especially The two humans would
Istria,
need them.
yeah.
So I think I would leave Dorian and Istria, and also Billy and Faldor. They all need lanterns. I'm going to leave the lanterns with them so that they're not reliant on me.
Cool.
So I think I am just going. I do have torches, so maybe actually in my backpack. So maybe I'm making a little bit of use of those.
Okay.
Of some torches. But I say, this is I understand a sensitive topic, and I have told Constable Dara that I would only speak to her, you, and well, possibly the mayor, though I'm not so sure about it. So I want to make that clear that I'm not here to cause a ruckus or upset the locals. I didn't bring it up to Paprika, even though I wanted to. No, I don't say that part. I told Dara when I came here, we're here for a reason. And I point up to the mountain. I say, I understand that there's some sort of tension surrounding... Sort of look both ways. Gundrakar. I don't know what's happened or what the history is, but I'd like to know what I'm walking into, and I'd like to know why the locals here, why it's a taboo to even talk about it.
Roll me another insight check just to set the... What are we doing? How well you're reading him throughout this conversation.
8!
Okay, so he's a little harder to read than Dara.
Makes
he's
sense, because he's very pleasant, so he probably always looks as if he's not offended.
He's
even
chill,
if he is.
Yeah, and he's a half orc. He's got a very kind of stoic expression. Got this kind of wide jaw, kind of stern expression a lot of the time. But there's warmth there in his eyes mainly. And he nods and he says, "You wouldn't be the first to come here looking for that. Look, I'll tell you what I told the others. There's no good searching those hills for that ghost tail. And there's a lot of danger up there. A lot of folks a long time ago figured out that it was best not to talk about that stuff. And I'm no different, I'm afraid."
So something happened.
Yeah.
Locals went up there, I'm guessing.
A few locals have been up there. Sure.
I see. So I'm getting the sense that doesn't want to say anything more about it.
Yeah.
Damn it. Beat this man. Beat that man.
You could try that.
No.
It's just you two. Maybe there's somebody watching from one of the windows, but maybe not.
Just start torturing him.
In the middle of the market square.
Literally, middle of Market Square, like 9:30 in the morning. I just start beating the shit out of the town sheriff. With a bunch of hair trigger mercenaries working in town. That seems like a good idea. They're beating up the guy who pays us, and they'll just start running up and kicking the shit out of me. I say, well, I thank you for your candor. Do you reckon?
Do you mean candorosity?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I've heard this local term. I love it. I love the way it sounds. Do you think there'd be much use in me talking to the mayor about the subject, or do you think he would give me a similar response? Ooh. The fact that he's taking so long to think is intrigued, Admand. Now I want to go to the mayor.
Okay, I think Grendel will say, "You're welcome to try, but the mayor's the one who gave me this advice in the first place."
I see. You mind if I ask how old the mayor is?
Sure. He is in his mid-20s.
Okay. I'd imagined he'd be older.
Yeah.
human or?
Yes, he's a
Half-orc?
human. He's a human. He was a young man when he became mayor. Very
Wow.
young man. Barely a man.
How's something like that happen?
His father was the mayor before him.
Ah, democracy.
What is that?
Never mind. I had the wrong assumption about how things work here. It's a hereditary mayorship.
Well, not explicitly, but his father was a good mayor. Everybody thought he did a good job, and he raised his son to be the next mayor.
Was he like 16 when he came into the office?
Yeah, around that.
Wow. Well, I suppose the cost of that is that you get an inexperienced mayor, but the benefit is that later on you have a mayor that has been doing the job for a really long time.
And the Baron took him under his wing, apparently.
There's a Baron?
Mhm.
Tell me more. Does this Baron live in town?
No, I don't know much about them, actually. Only the mayor speaks to them.
Do they own one of the local farms, or?
I'm not too sure about it. I think they own most of the places around here.
Interesting. His name's... The Baron is named Dolgrin the Knotted Dwarf. Came down from the mountain after the old dwarf hold fell. Don't know why. Had a lot of money. Just kept saying, "Don't bring up Kundrakar. Never talk about it. Never talk about Kundrakar." And well, we took his advice.
Yep, Baron not a dwarf.
I am Baron not a dwarf. I am just very short.
Very stout.
And look at my beard.
No, he trimmed it. That's the disguise. He did the one thing dwarves can never do.
No. It's like, people are like, well, you sure look like a dwarf, but a dwarf would never shave his beard, so you must be a human. You must just be a very short human.
That's how halflings were made. One dwarf shaved his beard and he was cursed for all eternity to become a halfling.
Oh no. Yeah. Okay. So, Admand will shake the sergeant's hand and say, "Well, thank you for your candorosity, and I will I'll heed your advice." At this point, before I go to the mayor, I want to... Were we told what the name of the farmhouse was that we could get information at?
I don't think so.
Fuck.
But you have it on the map.
We have it on the map. We have the farmhouse on the map. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fuck it. I'll talk to the mayor. Whatever. No one's physically assaulted me for asking questions yet, so.
That's true.
We don't have to.
That's the line.
That is. If no one attacks you with weapons, then you can do whatever you want. I am going to. Well, I mean, what is the town hall situation? Is it like open to the public?
It's a good point. I mean, it's closed. The doors are closed. There's these big, heavy-set oaken doors with iron banding.
Try to open one.
Okay, you open it. As you pry it open, you can see like some sort of reception sort of area with not a counter necessarily, but it's like there's some seats and stuff and a
Hello,
rug.
welcome to McDonald's. I will come in.
Cool. There's nobody in this room, but like I said, there's a rug and a bunch of chairs.
Hello.
A human woman in her late 20s comes through the door and says, "Hello, can I help you?"
Hi, I'm Admand. I'm new in town.
Nice to meet you.
I was looking to see if I could speak to the mayor.
Yes, of course. I don't think he's busy. Come right through.
Oh, awesome.
Cool. You are led into what appears to be a study. There's a roaring hearth, a nice rug, a bunch of bookshelves, and there is a young human man in his mid-20s, currently wood sculpting. It's very early on in the project, so it doesn't really look like anything at the moment, but he's slowly putting carvings off. And the woman says, Sir Miles, are you able to take a visitor? And he looks up from the wood sculptor and says, Of course. Come in. Would you like anything to drink?
What are the options?
I've got some lovely aged mead and some fine wine.
I will try some of your fine wine.
Very well. And he nods at the woman and she leaves. Please, take a seat. Take a seat. I'm sorry for the mess. He kind of wipes off the wood shavings from his hand and puts down the tools.
What are you making?
I'm going to be making a mountain from nearby. No, not that one. Everyone always assumes it's that one. I've already done that one ages ago.
Oh, okay. Not the stone's tooth.
Not the stone tooth, no.
But another one.
Mm-hmm.
You just sort of display these mountains?
I see how they turn out.
Do I see any like wooden?
No, there's
things?
none in the room. I see how they turn out. Sometimes I sell them to passers-by.
I suppose it's good to have a hobby. Well, you're the mayor, of course. Let me introduce myself. I'm Admand. Admand Honock, son of Madog. I shake his hand.
Nice to meet you, Admand. I'm Sir Miles Berwick, son of Brian.
Brian, that's a great name. So is Miles. Great names all around. I actually hope you don't mind talking to the sergeant about you. I was told you came to be the mayor when you were 16. That's impressive.
Yes. Well, I was raised to the position. I was taught from a very young age how to manage things, and it was a bit hectic considering everything that was going on at the time. But luckily, I've got a lot of knowledge to draw from here in Blessingdale. Sergeant Grendar, of course, paramount.
He seems like a good man.
He is.
I also heard there's a local baron in town.
Not in town, but of course the baron owns all the lands around here.
What's his name or her name?
We generally just refer to them as the baron. I don't think I've ever gotten a name.
This is definitely a fucking vampire. Holy shit. It's for sure a vampire, dude. No, Baron? Yeah, Baron von Count Dracula? What's his name?
The
So
baron.
weird. Yeah. He wanted to take us to his town of Zerovia? Or whatever the...
Stay out of the mists.
Stay out of the mist. You've never met this Baron?
Oh yes, fairly regularly.
But he's never told you his name?
No, we just generally refer to him as the Baron.
Where does he live, if not in town?
I'm not sure where he lives. I'm sure there's some estate or manor in the region.
The region's kind of chaotic.
Suppose that's true. Maybe he has a household guard. Whenever I meet, though, he's always alone.
He invests in the town, or
He says he keeps us safe from the worst of the outside world, and that seems to check out. We don't get nearly as much as you'd expect.
how does he keep you safe? Admand has been totally thrown off track. He came in here with one goal. It's gone. He's like, literally, I'm putting myself into Admand's shoes. He's totally forgotten why he's come in here, because this is fascinating and terrifying. It sounds like a horror movie. What?
I assume he has some sort of foot soldiers and maybe a small army.
I see.
I assume he fought in the war.
Yeah, but you've never asked him?
I tend to only ask what I need to ask from him.
That's fair, I guess. How often does he visit?
Well, he doesn't visit, per se. I meet him when paying taxes every now and then.
You pay taxes to him?
Oh, yes.
So he rules this land. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
I see. What's the tax rate?
I'm sure it's in the tomes somewhere, but it's
some sort of math equation.
It's fairly reasonable. No, I've never had need to complain. Our industry in this town has boomed in recent years, and he has
Is it
not
a land
changed.
tax or a sales tax?
It's sort of a wealth tax, I suppose.
Oh, wealth tax. That's the most brutal kind. All right. Wealth tax. Very well. Geez. Interesting indeed. Well, does this Baron ever need the company of adventurers? We're doing odd jobs, or we might be. Does he ever need adventuring folk?
He's never asked me to provide them.
But you never know.
If you're looking for work, Casper down at the meadery is often in need of people.
What does he look like, in case I meet him?
Casper?
No, the Baron. Does he have... Like, for example, does he have teeth that are kind of longer than his other teeth?
Well, he's a youthful individual.
I knew you were going to say youthful. I knew you were going to say strangest thing. I've known him for a decade or so, and he never seems to age.
Yes, well, he worked with my father, but my father did say that when he met him, he looked a lot younger. But he's aged and taken me under his wing. He's quite a comely fellow.
I see. Human?
I think so. Jet black hair.
I don't know why. This is killing me. I'm dying.
Perhaps he is a half elf. Like I said, he's quite. He has quite an aura about him.
Yeah, I imagine. The Baron. Sometimes he turns into a bat and flies away. I always thought that was strange. Also, I always have to invite him in. That is interesting indeed. How does he let you know that you're going to have a meeting?
When I go to give him, I leave the taxes at a certain spot, and every now and then he's there waiting for me.
What? This is the strangest feudal system. I'm trying to imagine an actual baron or king or something that's like, yeah, I tax these peasants, but like, I don't send a guy to get it. I just have them put it out in the middle of the woods and I come grab it myself. What? Definitely some sort of creature. Oh my god. I now think it's either a vampire or it is fucking Durgaden wearing a very, very good disguise. What the hell?
Durgaden, not a dwarf.
The only thing I know is that he comes from the family not a dwarf. It's a long lineage. Not a dwarf, definitely not a vampire was the full name.
Nosferatu.
His uncle was Nosferatu, and his grandpa was named was named Count von Dracula Strahd. Anyway, what a cool guy. Sometimes he drinks my blood, but that's fine.
That's acceptable.
This is part of our arrangement.
It's a taxes.
Yeah, part of it. It's so strange. He says, "I need money and blood."
Is it a land tax or a sales tax? It's a blood tax.
It's a blood tax. Now, if you come to think of it, I haven't ever had to pay the man in currency. I don't know why I never thought that was strange. I've been paying him in blood. Anyway, okay. Admand is has to take a second to readjust because
at this point the wine arrives, so it's a good excuse for you to
to drink a little bit. I just need to make sure. This all sounds very bizarre to Marshall. Would this also sound bizarre to Admand?
I think
this whole setup.
I think I've listened to the way you talk, and I think the parts of it that you find bizarre would be the parts of it that an in-game character would also find bizarre. So yeah.
Like, I think it's weird that a nobleman.
There are esoteric noblemen who do weird things, and there are lots of But this is strange for sure.
This is eccentric in a way that seems impractical and bizarre, right? Like not.
There is no one of the most important parts of rulership in this way is display of force. And there is no display of force here.
No display of force. Also, to remind the people who rules them, and he doesn't come to town. He doesn't say, "Hello, I'm your baron. I rule this land." The people don't even seem to really talk about him at all, because I only heard about him from the sheriff. Everyone else talks about this place like it's an independent community. But I talked to the sheriff and the mayor. Actually. Sorry, it's evolved each step. The regular people are like, this is an independent community. I talked to the sheriff. He's like, oh yeah, the baron's like a landowner. He like owns land in town. He invests in the community, I think. Then I talked to the fucking mayor, and the mayor's like, no, he just rules this whole place. He's our liege lord. What? The fact that people would not know that. Like, my understanding of a medieval world, hey, Forgotten Realms can be different, is that a peasant, they might not know much, but they know who rules the area.
You know who lives in the castle over there that's clearly built on the hill so everyone can see it.
Yeah. And they're like, that's the Baron Fux's name, and he taxes us. Right? Yeah. And you would know that you're getting taxed. It wouldn't be like I guess we have to pay him money. No, it would be like a pain in the ass. You would think about it all the time. So this is strange. I think Admand is very, very suspicious of this Baron. Like, deeply, deeply suspicious, but it's also technically not the reason he's here. So he is going to change the subject and say, I'm sorry, I sounded like an intriguing subject, so I distracted myself with it. But actually, that's not the reason I came here. Miles, Sir Miles. Well, actually, what should I call you?
Miles is fine, he says.
Oh, Miles is fine. Sir, I could call you Sir Barrick if that's more formal. But Miles, I don't mean to offend you by bringing up this topic, but there's a reason I and my company have come here. We are here under the advisement of one Dagnall Silverbeard. He's a very wealthy leader of the Jewelers Guild in Mirabar.
I know Dagnall.
You know Dagnall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the Baron.
We do. I've never met him, but we've had correspondence, and I've overseen jewel trades to him before.
Oh, I see. Good. Well, I'm currently in a sort of semi-service to Dagnall. You might say I have a relationship with him like you have a relationship with the Baron, right? It's kind of vague. But suffice it. Actually, mine's less vague than yours. I will say that.
He seems a little confused at what you mean, but he doesn't say anything.
I say I have been. I have been sent to prove myself. You see, have you heard of Mithril Hall?
Of course.
Yes. Well, eventually my company and I are going to try to see if there's anything left of it. A dangerous quest, but one that could prove to be extremely rewarding for anyone willing to take it on. And, well, Mr. Silverbeard is not a fool. He does not want to invest in a company that has not proved itself. And I sort of... Is there like a window?
Yeah.
Can I see the mountain in the distance? Probably not, because it's dark everywhere.
Yeah.
Damn it. Fuck this darkness.
That's what everyone says.
I sort of point in the direction I think the mountain is in, and I say, we have heard of the dwarf fortress of Kundrakar. We've come here to find it, but so far it seems like this town wants to act as if it doesn't exist. And I'm wondering why. And I want to let you know, I've come to you about this because I didn't want to upset the sensibilities of the butcher and the baker and the alchemist and Paprika. But I've heard you're a bold man. That you know what it needs to. No, I don't say anything else. I was going to try to flatter him.
Okay. I think I'm going to have you roll me a persuasion check if you'd like. Because I think he's considering telling you something, but I think it just depends on how much you've stirred in him, basically. I know there wasn't a ton of requests in that, but I think you were trying to put across that you could actually do something here.
Oh, yeah. Persuasion?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking shit, dude.
He shakes his head and he says, you know, a lot of people come through here looking for Kundrakar. I've never heard of anyone finding it. I have heard of a lot of people going missing in the hills, though. If I were you, I would, he pauses for a second. You're clearly ambitious and brave, and you're not scared of danger. You've come to the right area of the world. But who's to say it's even out there? Who's to say it even existed? Mithril Hall, at least, you know it's there. Maybe you're better off heading right there.
I smile and I say, Dagnall Silverbeard is quite sure it exists. As I said, he's no fool.
That much is true, if I know what I know about him. But Dagnall Silverbeard is a long way away. And you can be as intelligent as you like, but until you have boots on the ground, you can never be certain of the situation.
Have you heard of Durgadan?
Certainly,
the bear.
Certainly, I've heard the stories, the rumors, the myths.
Well, certainly, the man was not himself a myth. We use his weapons. He's a very well-known dwarven figure. Not a myth to dwarves, at least. Be like saying your Baron is a myth. Everyone knows he exists.
I'm sure that you know your dwarven lore better than I.
I nod and I say, I'll make one last sort of. I mean, do I have a sense that he was considering whether I could help, or is that just completely behind the screen?
Definitely not in that phrase, but you can roll an insight check because I don't think we rolled one for this conversation, and I can maybe give you an idea of what you're feeling from him. How to describe this exactly? Certainly, you're not getting a good read on him. He seems to he seemed to be contemplating quite a lot early into the conversation, and now he's sort of got a roll going, and he's very hard to read. He's got a bit of a bluster about him. The last couple of questions, you feel like he's batting them away, like he's not really considering them too much. He's just giving you like prepared responses. He's heard this all before.
I'm sort of drinking my wine, and I say, well, I understand. Though, if I may say one last thing. If Kundrakar really is a myth, then why are the locals so uncomfortable with it? I don't know how it works here, but in Mirabar, you're only scared of things that are real. That can hurt you. unless you're a child.
Wow.
Well, I didn't mean it as an insult, but like
I know. Yeah,
children believe in stories. They're afraid of things that don't exist, and hopefully, once you become an adult, you're only afraid of things like, I don't know, the rising cost of living.
He says it has been a tumultuous few years for the world, I'm sure, but certainly for our little town. And I think when you continuously see people come through town looking for something and never come back, and when you live your life worried about what is at the edge of the darkness, you start to worry more and more about what it could be that's out there, and you learn to leave well enough alone and stay within the light.
Makes sense. My understanding is it's likely, at the very least, orcs killed a lot of these folks. Is that your reckoning?
That's a logical explanation.
Orcs are scary enough, to be fair. Scary enough that most people wouldn't want to tussle with them. Well,
that's a good thing that the Baron keeps most of them away.
What the fuck? Why do you keep bringing up the Baron, man? I tried to move away from the Baron, but he dragged me right back. God damn it.
You gave him an in.
I say, actually, one last question about the Baron. Do the locals know anything about him? Because, I mean, the sheriff mentioned him as if he was like a local investor in the town and a friend of yours. Not so much the liege lord of this entire area.
Well, I'd consider him a friend.
Yeah, but that's... But what I'm saying is the sheriff didn't seem to know that he's the liege lord of this town.
Oh, I'm sure the sheriff was... I'm sure... Not the sheriff. I'm sure Grendar...
Oh, I keep saying sheriff. Yeah, it's sergeant.
It's okay. It's a reasonable shorthand, but yeah, in fiction, it's not what he's called. I'm sure Grendar is a capable man, but sometimes he doesn't use words perfectly. And then he says, I am completely open and honest, as my father was before me, about the situation.
Your father was... your father, you said, that had the same relationship with this Baron. I mean...
A different relationship. The Baron was a lot younger when my father was meh.
Do you think the Baron's father or mother once ruled the land as well?
I would assume so, yes.
Right. Well, that is good to know. I will... Admand just, he tries to be as candorositous as he can. This is my new favorite thing. And he says, I understand that this is that it's a tense subject, and I hope I didn't ruin your day by bringing it up. I'll take your advice under advisement. And I thank you for being willing to see me. Most mayors wouldn't necessarily just be willing to meet with a stranger who walked out of the forest.
You're most welcome. If you need anything else, you know where to find me.
All right. And I get up, I shake his hand again, and I walk out. Finish the wine. Walk out.
Cool.
Fucking shoot it back. Really classy, like.
Yep.
And like all dwarves. And he walks out, and then God, so flustered after that conversation. I mean, genuinely confused. He is at this point going to go find his friends.
Cool. Yeah. You can meet up with everybody. Actually, probably not everybody.
Some people are now in the service of the Baron.
You meet up with Istria, Dorian, and Billy back at the Board Weasel.
Ah, Billiam. Good. I am going to, hopefully out of earshot of the local tavern owner, I am going to try to update them on the weirdness that I have sort of experienced and some of the issues I noticed.
Would you like to? Would you like to go to one of your rooms, or is that not a measure?
We can go to a room. We could go to a room.
Then unless
just
there's
in case that this is a cult and that we're going to be murdered.
Yeah. Because there's obviously if this is a institution where there is serious espionage, the room won't help you. But otherwise, it'll make it pretty easy for you not to be overheard.
No, I'm paranoid. I mentioned to them some of the weird stuff that I learned.
And you are in the room, just to be clear.
We're in the room.
Okay,
Is there a bug in the room?
Would you like to make a perception check?
Sure.
Cool.
There's just a little...
Yes, there is a small cockroach in the corner of the room.
I kill it.
All right, it's dead.
I throw it outside.
Okay, it's outside. There seems to be no holes or anything within the walls, though.
Before I throw it outside, I'm like, I have to do better than that. throw it outside.
Istria gives you a weird glance.
Sorry, I'm in a very paranoid mood. Look, I update them on what the locals seem to say about Kundrakar. That something happened. My best guess is that a lot of people died, and that there's now a serious fear about it. But they're definitely not telling me everything. And I think I tell them I believe that the mayor, at the very least, is flat out lying about the even though he said he's an honest man. I tell them that my best guess is that the mayor is flat out lying about the existence of Kundrakar, that he knows it's real and is pretending that it's not. And I asked them if they've had any weird experiences or catch me up on what they've been up to.
Yeah. These are the guys who haven't been doing much, because the two people who have been out and about are not currently here. So Billy, I think, has probably just been staying in the inn. He is a little anxious about being in a new town and doesn't want to explore. He finds that scary, so he's just been staying here. I think Dorian has been out and about, trying to find like a magic component shop or any wizards in town, and is sad to report that there aren't any. The alchemist is a hack and possesses no magical talent whatsoever.
God damn, Dorian.
Yep, that's what Dorian's been up to. Istria has just been kind of walking around, taking a look at things, and tells you that there are a lot of mercenaries here. There are these watchtowers all around town, and they're quite well manned. She's a bit surprised that a town, this is a reasonably sized town for sure, but still, it's a lot of mercenaries for a town this size.
It's strange. Yeah. I mean, it is also strange that there would be enough work for this many people. I mean, I know that there are some people trading going east, but enough to sustain a town of this size? Bit bizarre.
A lot of the trade seems to go west, she says, and there's two very large breweries.
And how the fuck are there farmers? How is anyone farming?
What do you mean, she says?
The sun! There's no sun! No, I look at Dorian and I'm like, what do you make of... Because in my canon, this is bothering Dorian, not Admand. I'm like, maybe Dorian rants for a second about the fact that there's no goddamn sun. And that might be required for plants.
Istria says, well, yes, you're probably right. You know a lot more than me. But dwarves have lived underground for hundreds of thousands of years. There must be some plants that can grow under there.
Wasn't it? But, well, Admand might know. Wouldn't dwarves grow like funguses? Things that don't need light?
I was going to call it a nature check.
Or do plants just grow in this world without the need of sunlight? Am I just totally wrong? Nature.
Yeah.
Nature.
Yeah, okay, you know enough about this subject. There are definitely, just like real life, most plants will require sunlight because of photosynthesis. I don't know if we know about photosynthesis, but obviously most plants will. But dwarves have a wide variety of underground growing crops. Fungi is a massive part of the diet, but there are also kind of grain crops that do exist in dwarven culture that evolved to be able to grow underground.
Wow.
You also, I think, with that would know that like this region is quite heavily influenced by Mithril Hall, and there will have been dwarven agricultural experts who would have been here.
Fair enough, I guess. Strange area. I tell them about the Baron, and I ask, do they think it's weird?
They all think it's weird.
Yeah, fucking weird.
And then Billy says, I don't think it's weird. I've never met the Stone Warden.
But you know that there is a Stone Warden.
I know there's a Stone Warden. I don't know their name.
God damn it, Billy. Fair enough, Billiam. Fair enough.
The other two say it's definitely weird, of course. Dorian even says, I know the names of all of the Stone Wardens. I can tell you the exact structure of all the hereditary structures across Miramar.
Shame on you, Billy. Look at Dorian.
I can't read those things, Billy says.
Oh, no! I'm sorry, Billy. I'm just kidding. You're doing good.
And remember, I don't have parents to read to me.
Fuck, is that true? Is he an orphan?
I thought that was in your back. I think that was
You're
your
right.
backstory
No,
for him.
yeah, he is an orphan. Yeah. Sorry, Billy. Sorry, Billy. Well,
maybe I can read to you, Dorian says.
Aww. Dorian becomes his father.
I think Dorian's everyone's daddy.
Which is funny because Dorian's quite young. He's like 45.
That's true. About the same age as the Baron. No, sorry,
Fuck!
not the Baron, the mayor. I meant the mayor.
About the same age as the Baron. Baron's only 12 years old.
In vampire years.
Oh, some people say he's timeless and ageless.
Some people say he sparkles.
Admand is like, look, I don't know what this Baron's about, but I'm guessing that he's an elf or something even different than that. Maybe a, I don't know, a monster or something. A vampire? I don't know. Something.
Do you think we're in danger, Istria says?
I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, the locals seem fine, but...
Well, you said they were very skittish about this Kundrakar thing, and we've been going around town talking about it.
That's... Maybe people should stay together.
Do you want me to go get Faldor?
Yeah, let's make sure people stay in pairs, just in case.
Alright, Istria leaves to go get Faldor.
Wait, we just said to keep in pairs. Dorian, go with her.
Okay, I don't know, they both say that they don't know where Kratz is, though.
Fuck. I'll go get Kratz after you bring Faldor back.
Alright, they go, and after about half an hour, they come back with Faldor, who's grazing. He's got a lantern, he's been grazing. He says, what's going on?
I catch him up.
That's weird.
Weird, right?
Well, the people down at the brewery seem nice enough.
Which brewery did you go to? Dell Brewery?
Yeah, the Dell Brewery.
Did they mention anything about a mysterious parrot?
No.
Well,
they just started to hard sell me on the fact that their ale was real dwarven.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
I don't even really like ale, sorry. I'm more of a mead guy myself.
Why didn't you go to the meadery?
Because the meadery don't have the facilities I needed.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Awkward. Cringe. Anyway.
Last I checked, we couldn't ride bees.
Everyone for a moment, like, imagines that world. The more wonderful world. Although, yeah.
I did hear a rumor while I was down at the Dell Brewery.
Giant bees?
Giant bees.
That you can ride?
Well, they're sized to be rideable, but I got the sense that you wouldn't be recommending that.
Perhaps if you tamed them, though.
Is this what we want to do? I'm totally down.
How we'd even begin to do that.
That's a good point.
We probably get stung a lot in the process.
No, bees are actually quite docile, if you don't disturb them.
You don't try to jump on them and ride them, I bet.
Of course, yeah.
That's probably the point at which they are less docile.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'm saying there's an inn here.
there's an inn. I know there's an inn. There's also a tavern. But seriously, we need to stay together.
Wait, are
I
you worried about this Baron guy?
Well, history has got me all paranoid.
Okay. He looks at Istria. She shrugs.
Look, it's not so much that I'm worried about the Baron, but I'm worried about the whole thing. I mean, who knows who the Baron is? My sense is not that he's a normal guy. Then we've got the fact that Kundrakar is a sort of taboo topic. I've already brought it up with like 3 people. And then there's Paprika. Don't even get me started on her. She's never heard of the spice.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the spice.
Yeah, right? No. There's a woman in town who owns a shop. She sells food. She's never heard of paprika. They don't even have black pepper here.
What?
But look, it's all just very, it's
You
very
can get
weird.
black pepper for coppers on the pound in Mirror Bar.
Exactly. But maybe it's just that I'm a bit unused to the sort of ways of these local country folk, but it just all seems a bit off, and I want to make sure that everyone's safe. I'm not saying that I actually think that there's danger, but precaution. So from here on out, I think we should try to stick together in at least pairs. Make sure that no one goes wandering alone. Now, I need to go find Kratz, who has gone wandering off alone, probably in the darkness.
Yeah, I think he went south looking to hunt.
Son of a bitch, Kratz. Also, we're all going to be heading to the farm soon. I was told by Ulrich that the farm to the east of... It's to the east of here, I want to say?
I think it's
Northeast?
north? Yeah, northeast.
The farm to the northeast of here is probably the only place we're going to get straight answers about this whole Kundrakar thing, and I want to get as much information as we can before we go in there. I don't want to enter a ruined dwarf keep surrounded by orcs blind. That seems like a good way to get killed. So, if we can get even the slightest scrap of information, I think that'd be beneficial. So, if you're going to travel in pairs, or in triplets, that's fine. Yes, I'm gonna go find Kratz. I guess I shouldn't travel alone either. Who wants to come with me to find Kratz?
I guess Istria volunteers.
All right, Istria. So Istria and I will head to the southern end of town.
Cool, yeah. Why don't you roll me a perception check to see if you can pick up his trail? Nice, yeah, absolutely. You see a bunch of fresh footprints and stuff in the south. You follow a couple of them. Eventually, you find one that goes off onto a little game trail, and you assume that's Kratz. Why don't you roll me a survival check to see if you can follow it and find him? Okay, so after about an hour, you still haven't found Kratz yet. What do you want to do?
Kratz! I just start yelling, Kratz!
Roll a d20.
Just a flat d20?
Just a flat d20. 11 or higher is what you want.
Bro.
Oh. Kratz emerges from like a nearby bush right
Hello.
next to you with a hair and is like, "Oh, Admand, what are you doing here?"
I wanted to catch you up on some of the things that have been happening. I also wanted to say that we're going to try to stay in pairs from here on out while we're in town.
Oh, okay.
So I catch him up on everything.
Oh shit, there's a baron, he says, looking at the hair.
Oh, don't worry. I doubt there's any fucking laws in this place. I mean, his relationship with his subjects is very loosey-goosey. He just goes to a field to collect taxes. Just like, leaves them in the middle of the woods, as far as I understand. Very robbable. Eminently robbable taxes, apparently.
Are you saying we should rob them?
No, I'm not saying that. I don't know who this baron is, but I don't want to steal from him. That seems like a good way to get cursed by a vampire lord.
Kratz looks at the hair again.
Fine, I doubt there's any poaching restrictions.
Should I put it back or?
Just keep it. You already killed it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. I was gonna take this to the cook shop.
Actually, this is kind of interesting. This would be a good way to find out if there are such restrictions. I'll go with you.
Okay. He stops for a minute to butcher it. Actually, he thinks there was a butcher in town. And I'll do it myself. He does it himself. And then, yeah, I guess you guys head back to town. You go over to the cook shop. Paprika charges him a small fee. I guess you're keeping track of his money, so probably 2 copper you can take off. And she'll cook it up. She takes an extra copper, 3rd copper for some seasoning.
What seasoning?
She's got some salt and a little bit of citrus fruit zest.
They got fucking citrus in here, but they don't have black pepper.
Yeah. They also have some spices.
Probably a lot of herbs that you'd grow in like a garden, I'm guessing, like sage or rosemary, things like that.
Yeah, the stuff that the meadery would also use in their spiced mead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. And she doesn't have any reaction to the fact that it was clearly caught in the wild.
No.
Cool. I guess I'll just flat out say it. There's no restrictions against hunting in the woods here, is there?
Not as far as I know.
Awesome. Wouldn't want to upset the Baron, I say.
She knows.
To gauge her reaction. Oh, so that's a thing you know about?
Yeah.
What do you know about the Baron?
Not a lot.
Do you consider him your liege lord?
Sure, yeah, of course. Although we mostly report to the mayor, obviously.
Yeah, and like you've never met this guy.
No.
Do you think he's like an ever living creature, like an elf or some sort of god?
No.
Just want to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Paprika.
She goes back to cooking.
We're all paranoid and freaked out. Meanwhile, the locals are like, "Have you met those new people? They're fucking weird." Okay. Eventually, he's got his cooked food, and once he does, I think we would. Well, I'm fine with. We'll meet back at the Board Weasel with everyone, so we have everyone, and then I reaffirm that I just in case, as a precaution, we should try to stick in pairs. People can still go off and have fun, but actually, now that I say that, it's probably been a while by now. It's probably getting later in the day. I say tomorrow morning we're going to be heading to the farmhouse, so everyone should be ready to head out at the Board Weasel first thing in the morning.
Okay.
At that point,
Kratz will say, "How do you know it's morning around here?"
Great question. Maybe the front desk has some sort of wake up system at the end. I'll go up to the innkeeper.
Yep.
How do you know it's morning here?
You just sort of feel it. Some people don't.
Does the inn have a wake up service?
I suppose I could.
Excellent. We'll need to be woken up first thing in the morning.
All right, I'll try.
You can just wake me up, and I'll wake the others up.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. All right. Because I imagine. Well, actually, maybe I don't know. I say I.
You guys are probably still on a sort of circadian rhythm that will get you up at a certain time, whereas these guys have probably lost that at this point.
Well, I was actually going to say I wonder if actually dwarves maybe have a natural rhythm that is not tied to the sun, that they kind of know what time it is without the use of the sun because of how long they've spent underground. I don't know. That
makes sense to me. It'd probably be weaker in you because you're a bit removed from the generations that lived underground. But I do agree that there would be some sort of genetic that makes sense to me. So yeah.
But in either case, he's offering to wake us up, so that's fine. Yeah. And
although you might be better at figuring that out than him.
Wait, yeah, okay. So you're saying that we actually would just know when it's morning.
You might do, yeah. I think you've only been in the darkness for about a week. I feel like you'd still be on that same rhythm still.
You know what? I tell him it's no problem. We'll just wake up, and then after we have a conversation about it, and then I think that I would, with anyone that wanted to, I wanted to check out the other tavern in town just to see if there's anyone interesting there.
Sure, absolutely.
But to stick to our new system, I'll need at least one person to come with me.
Cool. Kratz. No, Faldor wants to see what kind of stuff they've got on tap up there.
Cool. Valdi boy. Ah, I found it!
You did.
The broken candle. The layout. I will say this. You know what this reminds me of?
Mm-hmm.
I was recently playing... I was recently playing Baldur's Gate 1 Enhanced Edition.
Oh, yeah.
And walking around the towns feels a lot like walking around this town. Because, like, everything's dark until you go there. So you have to, you have to explore every part, and you're walking through a bunch of, like, unrevealed areas. And it's also, like, the animations for the buildings is very flat looking. I mean, they're not this flat, but, they're not perfect. So we show up at the Broken Candle.
Excellent. All right, yeah, you head in, and this one's a lot busier than the Bored Weasel. This is almost at capacity. There's got to be about 20, maybe 30 people in here. Quite rowdy. It's quite loud. Yeah.
Okay. We will head to the bar and order... shots! No. Order.
Hell yeah.
Do they have something like that? Probably not.
They have like a rice wine that's quite strong.
Shots.
All right.
So around a rice wine.
That was like,
Sake.
what the fuck is this?
Rough.
Strong. Give me another.
I know. Can you imagine like going to a medieval person and handing them like vodka? They'd be like, "Oh my god, what is
this? Is amazing."
It's both the most amazing and the most horrific thing I've ever tasted.
True.
They'd be like, "It gets you drunk really fast, but it tastes like absolute poison."
Hey, maybe that's what you found out in the woods.
So we have a few drinky poos, and then we will. I'll just kind of look around. So it's a lot of mercenaries and a lot of like
out of towners.
Any some dwarves, perhaps?
Hold on. There are no dwarves in here tonight.
They killed them all because they asked too many questions about the Baron.
There are a couple orcs, half orcs. There's one half elf.
Interesting. Does anyone look like they are, I don't know. I was gonna say, does anyone look, I guess never mind. My question doesn't make sense. There wouldn't be like an identifiable kind of garb from Mirabar, would there? Like a kind of style of clothing or something?
It's a good question. I mean, certainly people who wear sort of there's this sort of gaudiness to Mirabaran equipment. A lot of time, just brass put on things that really doesn't need to be there. Silver and things like that. Like there's a lot of like lavish expense put on Mirabaran forged equipment.
A very gaudy T-shirt that just says "God bless Mirabar."
It
has a fucking American flag and an eagle on it.
Well, Mirabar does also have a flag, or like a coat of arms. And you don't see that there. There's a varied amount of equipment here. I'm sure. Why don't you make a perception check? Because I'm sure there is some Mirabaran equipment here. Yeah. So you can see a couple warhammers discarded on the floors, next to people that are clearly of Mirabaran make.
I'll go up to some of these Mirabarians.
All right.
Mirabarians? What's the term?
Mirror Barons? No.
Mirror Barons?
The Barons.
Oh, I am not using Barons. Everyone stops, looks at me like it's a horror movie.
The term is Mirror Baron. I wonder if it would be Mirror Barons.
Mirror Barons. Yes, I walk up to some Mirror Barons and I say, "Ah, are you from Mirabar?"
Aye, originally, one says, a gruff-looking human man.
Yeah, me too.
He raises his flagon.
Mirabar party, and we're just dancing in the middle. Is it basically that kind of vibe? Like, is it like people are dancing, or are people just drinking it?
People aren't really dancing. People are singing.
People are singing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I don't really have anything in particular that I'm looking for. I guess I would just kind of go around, chat with people, maybe meet a few people. If there's any interesting rumors I pick up on, other than that, I don't think. Like Admand would keep his ears open. In other words, he'd be eavesdropping without being rude on any conversations that he comes near.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense to me.
There might be nothing to hear, but
yeah. Why don't you just roll me a flat d20?
have you heard about the Baron? I've heard he's a vampire.
There is one thing you pick up that some of the people are talking about are how on the Lancers Trailway to the west, the Lancers seem to be having a problem with it's spider breeding season at the moment, it seems to be, and a lot of the spiders are getting onto the roads.
If I overhear that and it's in like an open conversation that I would be maybe like welcome in,
Yeah,
I would say I would sort of pass by and say, oh, actually I met some of them. They're real bastards. I had to walk around this huge spider nest. It was terrible.
one of the men who was in this conversation says, "Aye, me too, but the spider I met was weird. It would shimmer and disappear all of a sudden, and then reappear. It was the scariest shit I've ever seen.
That's not good.
No, I ran for me life.
Was it wearing a jaunty hat? Perhaps a baron's hat?
I don't think so, lad."
Okay. Baron is this disappearing spider. That is very scary. That was out on the Lancers Trail?
Aye. Must have been, what, 10 days ago.
I see. Well, we'll all have to be careful.
Maybe the Lancers can get off their arse and do something about it, eh?
Ah!
They all laugh.
Shot!
Yeah, one of them says, "I'm glad I left. Useless, a lot of them."
You were a part of the Lancers?
Yeah, I did some work for him for a few months, just walking around the roads, pretending to be useful. Suppose it's not too different to this assignment, eh, lads? Just standing up on the towers, pretending to be useful. Haven't had any trouble in Blassingdale in years.
I look around and I say, you all work here?
They all nod.
And they just pay you to what?
Man the watchtowers. Report if anything, any trouble happens. If it breaks out, I suppose we're a sort of militia.
How do they afford to pay all of you?
Ah, Casper Honeybrew pays me, and they all nod and they say, yep.
Casper pays for the walls?
I think a lot of people around here get hired by Casper, aye.
Ah. I think Admand says, all right, cool. And he kind of wanders off, regroups with his Faldor, I guess.
Faldor is in a small group of halflings in the corner, and they're gambling, and he's like, he's looking at them, and he's like shaking his head.
like they've won money from him already, or like he's just disapproves of the habit.
I mean, he's disapproving of something.
I kind of try to catch his look.
Yeah. Ready to go? finishes off his rice wine. You know, it really grows on you after the 6th one.
After the 6th or 7th shot of rice wine. The barkeeper's like, those two will pass out any moment. I say, what was going on with you? What was happening over there?
Just look at them, gambling their lives away.
Didn't you go over to gamble with them?
No.
Oh, okay. What would you better approve? I mean, surely they're just doing this for fun. They might have jobs.
Get out there, do some hard work.
It's fair. Well,
it's the middle of the day, I think.
How would you like to visit the... I make no comment because back in Mirabar, Istria and I were famous for hanging out at cabins in the middle of the day, not doing any work. Admand tells him what he just heard, that it seems like most of the guards who watch the walls are paid by the mead brewer. Very strange to me. What was his name? Let me check. Casper.
Must be a very powerful man then.
Yes. I think it's time we meet this Casper. You interested in coming? Or should I switch you off with one of the others?
Maybe I should go back to the board weasel.
Okay.
I know where the meadery is, though.
Oh, point me in that direction. Where is it?
Okay, and he walks you over, so come back to the broken candle. Do you see my arrow?
Oh, yeah.
He walks you to the edge of this hill first. Yeah, and so you can see that you're on the edge of the hill now, right? Yeah, and so he just points off the edge of the hill in this direction, but he says you'll want to walk around. But he says it's down there.
Thank you. All right, let's get you back to the inn. All right.
I don't think anybody in particular would want to come meet Casper, so I guess it's your choice who you would take with you.
Well, as long as one of them didn't care, I would just take Istria if she doesn't mind.
Okay. Yep.
I just come back to the inn and I've brought a completely wasted Faldor and then leave.
I'm not wasted. I'm not wasted. He sits down. Can I get a mead, please? He shouts over to the bar.
Yeah, right. definitely want to switch gears, slow that down, but you don't want to stop altogether, or else the hangover is going to be brutal. All right, have you ever had that? Like, if you start drinking early in the day and then you stop and you get like a midday hangover, it feels fucking awful. Man.
I have found though, if you get the right intervention of, like, if you're conscious enough to know that you're on the verge of it, if you go like hard 2 glasses of water and some carbs, it really does help. It's massive. It can
for
really
sure.
Cut you off.
I think that's part of the problem with regular hangovers is you just go to bed.
Yep. And
yeah, I try to drink so much water before I go to bed, and it's always like, sometimes it works and sometimes I don't. Like I'm in too much of a state to like do.
I always go like middle of the night. I'll always go for a glass of water, and people always assume that means I'm done, and it's not. It's just so I can keep going.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Oh.
Am I here?
Oh. Yep.
Hey.
You have arrived at Casper's Meadery. There is a front desk.
Hello.
Howdy. You looking to buy some meat?
Maybe. I did try some of your mead at the oh, fuck, I already forgot his name. The Board Weasel. I had some of your mead at the Board Weasel. I quite liked it. I must say, I don't mean to offend anyone, but as a dwarf, I prefer your mead to the dwarven ale, and I do quotes that they serve at the other brewery.
Well, that's not surprising. That shit's crap. We're the only real brewers in the town.
Oh, okay. Wow. You're very chipper. I say, are you Casper or?
No. Mr. Honeybrew's upstairs. I can get him if you have business, or you can take you to him.
I wouldn't mind speaking with him. I've heard he's looking for possible work.
Sure.
Or he's looking for people to work for him. Yes.
She takes you there's a door nearby. She takes you through it, up a staircase, down a corridor, and then opens up into Casper's office. Again, there's a nice large desk, a window behind him, and a couple of comfortable chairs in front of him. He is a halfling with blonde hair and a kind of round face, and he says, new faces. Good to meet you. I'm Casper Honeybrew, the best damn brewer in town. Can I offer you some complimentary mead?
Yes, I'll take a complimentary mead. Sounds delicious.
All right. And he pours you out and he says, this is Casper's special blend.
Did I hear about a special blend at the other places?
At the Board Weasel? No, the special blend was not available at the Board Weasel.
I don't remember this being available at the Board Weasel.
It's this one's not quite on the market yet.
All right. I first sniff it, and then I'll...
There's a lovely aroma mixture of spices in the scent.
I'll drink it.
It goes down nice and smooth, and then has a sort of fiery effect as it goes down your throat.
That's good. That's very good.
Why, thank you. You looking for work? He looks you up and down.
Possibly. I can't promise, but we're sort of passing through, and I'd at least like to hear what the work is, see if it's something that wouldn't be too out of the way.
Well, actually, I'm in need of quite a lot of assistance, but there's one thing that's pressing. One of my workers, haven't heard from them in a little while. I was looking for someone to check up on them.
I see. Where would this worker be?
If you head west a little while, nestled between the trees, there's a little cave. That's where one of the big hives is.
Oh, okay. One of my workers is a cave troll. His name's Jimmy. I see. So there's a hive in the cave, and you haven't heard from your worker who works there.
Yeah. They were supposed to get back with some honey a few days ago, and they're not here.
That's the damnedest thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure they're fine. But I'm concerned for my staff, and I'm always looking to make sure they're safe. So if you can get them back here safe, then I'll give you 50 gold. How does that sound?
Woo! I say, well, I think we could, at the very least, see what we can find. If you don't mind me asking, I was talking to some of the mercenaries over at the Broken Candle while they were on break. It sounds like you employ quite a few of the mercenaries in town. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
The ones that man the walls?
The watchtowers, yeah. Of course, I keep a few for my own personal safety, but...
Sure. You take on that... I guess I'm wondering why there isn't like an official town guard. Why is it your responsibility?
Well, we do have a town guard. It's quite small. It's about 5 people. And they were good enough to keep the town nice and safe before all this happened. But the world's a dangerous place these days, and, well, the town's my business. And, well, the mayor agreed to waive a few taxes afterwards, which was helpful. Not that it makes up the money, but it's nice.
I see. Good to know.
Also, I always feel safer if the men manning the watchtowers are ones that I've paid.
Makes sense. You must be very successful then.
Oh, fantastically, yes. Although not as successful as I should be.
What do you mean?
We lose a lot of business to that horse swill over on the other side of town.
Do you export to other communities?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, if you want, I could burn their establishment to the ground. No, I'm just kidding.
I would never suggest such a thing.
I'd never suggest such a thing.
At least not to a stranger.
Now, if you had a few more meads with me... I say, well, it's good to meet you, Casper. Uh, you mind if I ask you something?
Shoot. Which of the two taboo topics are you going for now?
Is one of them taboo?
I mean, maybe not. If the Baron really is a lich, then it would be taboo. I feel like.
Sure. A lich? Yeah. I didn't even bring up lich.
Oh.
Buddy's like, oh fuck.
Would I say lich if it was actually a lich?
You might. I say. I've heard about a local baron.
The Baron?
Yeah, the Baron.
Never met them myself. I think it's better that way.
You do?
Yeah, I hear stories about these overbearing barons and dukes and kings and all the rest of it.
That's where the word baron comes from, is they're so overbearing.
I prefer to keep out of our hair, and in all fairness, I feel like there isn't too much trouble in town.
Makes sense, I suppose. So, all right. Is your understanding that he rules this area?
Yeah, I suppose. Although, such a light touch, I'm not sure how much the phrase rule makes sense. Maybe tax is a better word.
But like the only thing most barons are interested in is the right to tax.
Well, that he has.
Interesting. I've heard it's just left out in the middle of a field.
Have you?
Well, that's not.
Do you say that?
No, I don't say that.
Okay.
I don't want people to think I'm like planning a heist.
I mean, if you told Casper, he might plan a heist.
He might plan the heist. Steal from the Baron. Then we really find out he's a lich real quick. Yeah. Casper's meter is turned to a graveyard.
Yeah, you get a new light tower in town when that happens.
Just for a short time. I shake Casper's hand and I say, well, I will tell my compatriots about this opportunity. If
it goes well, there's more gold in it for you. I've got a lot of things that need done.
Well, we'll look into this one for now, and we'll see what we find. Thank you for meeting with me, and thank you for your mead.
We'd like a bottle for the road.
Gratis?
Say again?
Like free?
Yep.
Sure.
All right. He gives you a ceramic bottle.
I'm a little worried that it has some juice that makes you very pliant to strange demands from a foreign baron. But I take it and I walk out.
Cool.
It's in the water. In the mead.
It was in the glass.
It's in the glass. I love the Baron. I don't even know who he is.
Do you ever watch Justified? That was a reference I just made to that show. You probably haven't seen it.
No, I don't think so.
It's a good show.
There was a show I wanted to rewatch the other day that you did introduce me to. Jericho. It was that post-apocalyptic one.
Yeah,
I think.
I really liked that show.
Yeah. I might revisit that at some point.
It's a shame because the last seasons were rushed and then cancelled and stuff, but I still think there's a lot of really good stuff in that show.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I like a very grounded post-apocalyptic fiction. I also like Fallout, but one thing it is not is grounded. Not always. That's unfair. I actually think parts of it are. Parts of Fallout 1 are very grounded. But then obviously parts of it are not.
Yeah.
And so I think
Fallout 2 is very wacky.
No, Fallout 2 is very wacky. And then New Vegas, well, it depends if you have Wild Wacky Wasteland, baby. No.
That's true.
Yeah, so no, New Vegas is a mix. I think for the most part, New Vegas is fairly grounded.
Pretty grounded, yeah.
And then the Bethesda games
are very wacky.
Pretty wacky. I think aspects of Fallout 3 are quite grounded. mainly because of how dreary Fallout 3 is, how fucking depressing it is. Like, that is a kind of grounding. Fallout 4, though, is like wacky.
Especially
city.
some of the DLCs. I haven't played them, but I've seen them, and like one of them's like a theme park.
You go to a theme park, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. All right, so yeah, I think that I will leave Casper's maid array and head this way.
Cool.
Did Istria have any thoughts on the conversation with Casper?
She tells you she thinks he's a bit of a slime ball. She doesn't really trust him.
Why do you
She
think
doesn't-
he pays the
Doesn't
guards?
mind. Probably pays the guard so he has the most force in town. That would be my guess.
So that he can intimidate people?
Maybe not intimidate people, but stop people messing with him. And if there was ever a situation where power was important, that he'd have the most of it.
It's fair.
He just
All
seems
right.
like the kind of guy that looks after his own, you know? Don't mind working
Sure.
with him. I just wouldn't trust him with much.
All right. Well, we'll see if the others are interested. What time do I think it is in game?
Maybe like early evening.
If we don't have to go to bed for a while, because like I imagine quite a bit of the time we've spent has been like, I mean, we've been drinking and doing things that aren't particularly exhaustive. And since the sun doesn't exist here, we could, before going to bed, just go off and try to see if we can find the honey guy. I mean, I would have, I could go back if I need to, but like, did he give me a sense of how far that is from here? Like,
Yeah, it's not far.
hour?
It's like an hour or two, yeah. And so you've traveled about 2 hours today in the Kratz search, so I would definitely let you travel there and back before the end of the day without a problem.
I think Billy and Faldor can stay at the Board Weasel, but I would take the rest of the folks to check out the Beehive.
So that's you, Kratz, Dorian, and Istria.
Yeah, if
Okay.
they're all on board.
They are. Yeah, no, they're all on board. Kratz is even interested to see.
I tell them the reward is worth it, it seems. 50 gold is pretty good for one small, hopefully small job, so.
Cool. Yeah, you guys set off in that direction looking for the missing worker, and we will find out whether you find that guy next week on Difficult Terrain. We'll leave the session there.
I'm wondering if we're going to find like a Winnie the Pooh kind of encounter where there's a giant
Ooh.
yellow bear that wants the
This is
honey.
where I reveal that when we talked about the Winnie the Pooh horror movie a couple weeks ago, that was the
that's real life.
inspiration. Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Did you enjoy the session this week?
Yeah, the Baron.
Yeah.
Driving me crazy.
Oh, hopefully in a good way.
Oh yeah, in a good way. I mean, well, in a good way out of character. I definitely think Admand thinks that the Baron is like a creep. Like, just is not. I think it's interesting actually that the way the way the way that Casper thought of it is like, especially given Istria's sort of remark about Casper sort of being like a local little like power broker, right? He has a lot of money, but he also has like a small army under his command. It would make sense that Casper's take on the Baron would be like, well, I'm glad he doesn't really involve himself in our affairs so that I can be the biggest bully in town. But I think Admand is so used to the rule of law and so used to government, so used to these sorts of things, that the idea that there would be a feudal lord who just has this much of a hands-off sort of approach is very suspicious to him. Like, he doesn't trust it. It's, you know what it is? It's a too good to be true. It's like if you see something online that's like, oh, you want this and it'll be free and you'll get the, and you're like, well, that's definitely a scam. So I think his approach is like, well, I guess in theory it'd be nice to have a lord that was this hands-off and was very chill, but like, it just seems like a scam to him. It seems like something, like a cover for something much more nefarious. So he's suspicious.
Okay. Good. I think there was definitely some XP worthy roleplay today, but I think it was a session of exposition and exploration rather than goal accomplishment. So I think I'm going to set it at 250 XP for everybody.
250.
Yeah.
Let me add that together. Poor Billy though.
I mean, yeah, Billy's. I mean, he's not like suffering or anything. He's just not like exploring or, you know.
He's not. Woo, sorry. He's not being his best Billy.
Yeah, there are no trenches to dig here. Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was just muttering calculations under my breath. You said 250?
Yeah, and that's like, for everyone, not split. So next week, then, you're going to look for this guy and then see what happens, and then probably at some point go over to that farmstead, right?
I think that is the goal. Also, Jesus Christ. I mean, this is crazy that this happened today because Billy didn't even do anything, but Billy has leveled up.
Well, he needs his long rest before he can level up, yeah.
Oh, so we won't worry about it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. I will just keep it in mind then that he's leveled up. Maybe I should... On my little spreadsheet, I'm going to put the XP amount in bold if it means there's like a level up waiting to happen. Just so I kind of remind myself. All right, yes. So next time we're going to look into the honey heist. That was the name of my understanding is there was like this little mini RPG that Critical Role did at some point called the honey heist.
Oh.
Anyway, it's like you steal honey. And so we're going to do the honey heist, and then we are going to... I mean, big goal. I don't think I'm just going to do a never-ending series of quests for Casper. I think that probably, unless his next quest is like, I need you to go out and speak to this farmer, which we're already wanting to go to, the next thing we're going to be doing is going out to the farmer. Because, yeah, it seems like that is the best hope we have of getting information, and I'm really, really curious what I'm going to hear from this farm. From these people, because something weird has happened, something strange,
and then maybe you will uncover some more information about this Baron who you are suspicious of as you go.
Oh yes, I'm definitely asking the farmer all about the Baron. For all I know, the Baron is the farmer, and the farmer is the Baron.
That's true. You never know. Anyone could be the Baron. You could be the Baron. All right.
Oh my God, it's like The Shining. Have you ever seen The Shining?
No, but I've seen the Simpsons parody of The Shining. Is probably basically the same thing.
So it'd be like if I go to the town hall and meet with the mayor, right? The mayor was kind of I thought the mayor was lying to me, but meanwhile the mayor's like, "You've been here the whole time, Admand. Welcome back. You're the Baron."
I missed. Yeah, you visiting town. Wow.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to go over, or are we ready to wrap it up?
I think that's good for me.
Are we good for next week?
Next week is October the
5th.
Why is my calendar not coming up? My computer's fucked today. Anyway, okay, so October the 5th, and that should be good. I will have a weekend in later October where I don't think I'll be able to do it, but I don't know that day yet, so I'll let you know. But next week we should be good.
Cool. All right, then we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you guys then. Peace out.